Okay, welcome to The Actor and the Engineer. My name is Paul James. I come from the acting background.
And I'm Josh Knapp. I'm a broadcast engineer.
Here we go.
All right. So the Oscars just happened.
Yeah.
And actually it went better than I thought it would go.
Yeah, it really did.
I was kind of amazed.
Yeah, I was too.
And I was amazed that Whiplash won as many awards as it won. I'm glad it did. I mean,
3 out of 5, right?
Yeah, and it won for the ones that I would have hoped. You know, it won for editing, which I said when we reviewed the movie, I said that was one big thing that stood out for me. Obviously, J.K. Simmons' performance also stood out. And what was the last one? I forgot that it won. Sound editing.
Yeah.
Sound mixing.
Right. It didn't win adapted screenplay and picture.
No.
Right.
But I didn't expect it to win picture.
Well, I mean, you never know.
You never know, but
I mean, it would have been
people were so
the surprise
shocked
of the night.
Yeah, people were so shocked that Boyhood didn't win for Best Picture. So
Are we going right there?
I'm
We're immediately taken
just-
right there.
Well,
I
that's
think-
a shocking thing for a lot of people. The more I read about it,
I know.
everybody feels like Hollywood chickened out.
Well, they also said, a few people said it's the worst mistake the Academy has ever made. And now
That's pretty bold.
Well, that is bold, and you have to do a tag to your story that people are going to see on the internet and want to read it. So I guess if you put worst Academy, people are going to go straight to it, especially with all the stories happening the day after. I mean, you need a tagline so people read your story. But I've been watching the Oscars for 3 decades now, and I've been following it as close, to seeing everything for the last 15 years, where I see all the categories, and it is by far not the worst mistake that the Academy has ever made. Not at all.
No.
I mean, if you're going to label that, I would say Crash versus Brokeback Mountain. Crash winning versus Brokeback Mountain winning.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest mistakes the Academy made. But it's 6,000 people who have a vote, so if they pick that, then that's what they think is the best picture. That said, you were with me. You saw my reaction when Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu won. I felt like I would be okay with whatever happened at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was super psyched that Birdman won Best Picture, but after he won Best Director, I felt peaceful. I felt like, okay, you know what? This one is the one that really meant something, and I never know until that moment. Like when I have the reaction, I never am sure what I'm vested in. Well, I was obviously vested in that because you saw me. I stood up and I was like, yeah. Punched the air, and I did that, yeah. And then it ended up winning Best Picture, and Michael Keaton did not win.
No.
And, a lot of my friends called me and text me, hey, we told you Eddie Redmayne was going to win, all that other stuff. And I have to go and see it again. I have to see The Theory of Everything again. Mm-hmm. And it is a consistent pattern with me with these performances that I'm not necessarily invested in, that I'll watch after the Oscars, and I'll see it through all those people's eyes.
Yeah.
Philadelphia with Tom Hanks. I did not see that movie again for like 6 or 7 months after the Oscars, and I saw it a second time, and I thought, wow, this performance is touching. I mean, that scene where he's getting out of Denzel Washington's office. Have you seen Philadelphia?
No.
It's an okay movie, but his performance it's definitely worthy of the honor. So I'll go back and watch Eddie Redmayne, and I'll watch it again, and I'll see what everybody else was seeing. But the thing that I realized almost instantaneously, even though I felt really bad for Michael Keaton, I felt, you could tell he really wanted it. And then when he spoke,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you could tell. He was like, I'm really just glad to be here. You could tell he was just...
It's kind of weird that they gave him a chance to speak.
And it's unprecedented. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I've never seen an actor who does not win for Best Actor get up and speak when the picture wins.
Yeah.
I mentioned that I don't really like when everybody walks up.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be the director or the producers of the film when they win Best Picture. But that's okay.
Yeah.
They work really hard on it. Let them have their due. So the thing that I realized coming out of it was more people will see his performance because Birdman won Best Picture versus him just winning Best Actor.
That's probably true.
And I think karmically speaking, if he had won Best Actor, then maybe the rest of it wouldn't have gone the way that it went. Maybe it would have split up even more. Maybe Boyhood would have won Best Picture. So in the end, I definitely think what Michael Keaton did for me as a movie-going audience member was more difficult to get through as an audience member. I think once Eddie Redmayne clicked into that physicalization, And I will say this, not to take anything away from Eddie Redmayne, I did go back and read reviews from Birdman and Theory of Everything. And I read about 5 of each and then scanned about 5 of each. And I was looking for Oscar-worthy statements. And everybody just goes ballistic over Eddie Redmayne's performance, saying it's spectacular, it's one of the best of the year, but never mentions Oscar. Not Oscar-worthy.
Yeah.
I mean, they say it's stellar, and they say what he does is incredible. Almost every single one of Michael Keaton's reviews is, even the ones that didn't like him, the movie, I mean, they would say, okay, the movie's not great, but he is buzzworthy, he's Oscar-worthy, he's worth this hype. Almost every one of them mentioned the Oscar. So I thought that was interesting that, you know, you go back and look at the history after it's already taken place. You know, but like I said, Eddie Redmayne's an Academy Award winner. You can't take it away from him. 6,000 people thought he should be Best Actor, and so he is.
Yeah, and even though you can tell that he wasn't comfortable at all with the situation.
You mean the actual
Eddie Redmayne
person
wasn't.
Yeah, I think he was scared.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him too. I felt,
He feels this pressure.
Yeah, what
you
would
know?
it be like to be the front runner and then not win? Or even though Eddie Redmayne had won all the awards,
He was the front runner. Wouldn't you consider
well,
him the front runner?
the interesting thing about it is this year a lot of things happen that normally don't happen. Even though Eddie Redmayne won all of the awards, including the Golden Globe, the SAG, the BAFTA, he was locked and loaded to win the Oscar, and he did. But all the major magazines called Michael Keaton the front runner. Even though Eddie Redmayne, they would say, even though Eddie Redmayne has won these awards, we still are betting on Michael Keaton. Why? I don't know. And the other thing I wanted to make mention is that it's been 2.5 decades since a picture has won Best Picture and not been nominated for Best Editing. Why that's locked together, I have no idea. But they make mention of it when a front runner film has not been nominated for Best Editing. They're like, you know, this hasn't happened to, you know, Brokeback Mountain wasn't nominated for Best Editing, but yet didn't win. Same with Birdman. So it broke a lot of interesting, not cliches, but patterns.
Yeah.
So I'm all about it.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, did you have anything else to say about the
No.
Oscars? I mean, this is the first time that I've seen as many movies that were up for Oscars before the Oscars happened, and I still didn't see all of them. I still haven't seen Still Alice, and I haven't seen The Judge. So, but I saw most of them, and I thought it was kind of cool being able to have a good idea of what I'm, you know, of what everybody else is thinking and talking about, and instead of being like, well, I'll have to catch up with that later on, you know, when it
You
comes
saw
out on DVD.
all of the pictures, though.
I did.
Yeah, so there it is. Yeah, because it kind of gives you, you're not left out. You're not like, why did that person win? You at least have an opinion based on something that you saw.
That's true. Well, and I wasn't even planning on seeing The Judge for a long time, but then you just saw recently, and so now I have to turn around and take a look at that because it sounds, I mean, the trailer, maybe it's just the trailer that looked so horrible.
The trailer looks stereotypical courtroom. Bad person does, or good person does something bad, and is he innocent or is he guilty? It's not that. It's a father-son drama, 90%.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I said to you was that Robert Duvall, I almost had this sort of preconceived notion that it's just because Robert Duvall is in a movie, he gets an Oscar nomination. I hate that thought, but it went through my head.
Sure.
And I was completely wrong. And I don't like to say I'm wrong a whole lot, but I like to be wrong about these kind of things because the performance is there. And if I had seen it before J.K. Simmons, I might have said Duvall's going to give him a run for the money. He's really second in command in that scenario for me, but it's worth watching for his performance.
Well, in the one scene, I mean, they were kind of hit and miss as far as like showing scenes of performances for actors and actresses and all those during the Oscars. But the scene that they decided to show for Robert Duvall, it seemed, I mean,
you were
arresting.
like,
I was like, okay, there's something.
And that's the least cathartic of all of his scenes. So you're in for a ride. It's an interesting movie. So overall, I didn't think the show was that great. Like, I think there's this weird phenomenon. Even Neil Patrick Harris couldn't rise above. It's almost like this void when they take the stage, this comedian, this host. He's not necessarily a comedian, but he comes from a theater background. He comes from a sitcom background. It did not land for him. There was a weird vibe about him being there. But I think that show's near to impossible to host. So I'm not gonna discredit him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what it be like.
You need somebody who is just good enough at so many things to jump in there. And I think it's probably why Billy Crystal's been asked to come back so many times. He's good enough at certain things. He's enough. I read an article today about Ellen DeGeneres, comparing like Ellen DeGeneres last year to Neil Patrick Harris this year, and the difference between Ellen DeGeneres going out in the crowd and Neil Patrick Harris going out in the crowd. Well, Ellen DeGeneres can handle a crowd just fine because she's a stand-up comedian. Like, she's used to doing, crowd work.
Yeah.
Where are you from? What are you guys doing tonight? That whole thing, you can apply that to the Oscars. You're just talking to, Brad Pitt and
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, and Scarlett Johansson.
Let's take a selfie.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're saying, is that seems more genuine than, the stuff that happened last year seemed a little bit more genuine than some of the things, that went on this year. And
there was a strange similarity in the pattern of the show, too, because he went into the audience and tried to do that little shtick.
Yep.
Last year, Pink did Over the Rainbow for the 50th anniversary, or of the anniversary, not 50th.
It was like the 80th or something.
75th or whatever it was for...
That came out in 39, though, didn't it?
So what would that be? What was
it? Would have been the 75th.
75th, okay.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. And this year was the 50th anniversary of Sound of Music. And then Lady Gaga, pop singer, who you did not know had the pipes that she had. Just like Pink. I knew Pink could sing, but I didn't know she
Pink's
could.
A great singer.
Yeah, I didn't know she could sing like that, though. I mean, and it changed it changed a lot of people's perspective of both of those two singers, Lady Gaga. And then he went out into the audience. It was very similar, but I can't fault him because I don't know how you go about doing it. Here's my personal opinion. I think they need to limit the time frame. Say it's only going to be 3 hours, get in, get out, make it more of a ceremony and less of a variety show. They need to cut the big dance numbers and all that other stuff. If it's a song for a movie, they need to figure that out because that does take some time. I thought all those performances were great. And everybody's talking about Glory with John Legend and Common, which one? Yeah. But I was impressed by Tim McGraw. I said that to you. I said, man, that song's rough. That song is, and the way it was written, it was beautiful. So I don't know what they need to do, but there's too much time trying to have this like variety show thing. Just get in, get out, give out these awards, and there was one year where they explained what all of the production Oscars were for. Like they showed the words being written for original screenplay, and they showed you, door opens, light from the sunshine comes through the window. You saw it all. And then you actually saw the production designs being built. A lot of times in drawings, they would just like animate it, if you will.
You're talking about those like interstitial type things.
Yeah. And then it was more about the movies and it was less about this variety show. So that would be my only recommendation. But it's not about that for me. It's about watching these people become, part of history and whether or not, I thought their performance for me was warranted of the Oscars. I'm not disappointed with any of it, though.
Okay. All right, great. Well, so what we're going to do for this episode is we're going to take a page from Steven Soderbergh. And we talked quickly about it a couple months ago.
We've mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah, he's got a website and he does crazy stuff. And one of the things that he did right around the beginning of the year was he released a list of all of the media that he consumed over the calendar year of 2014. And so we thought that we would do a similar thing, at least for a couple months, and then come back and take a look at it. And, we were writing down everything. I've got movies, TV shows, music, podcasts, books, video games. As much as I could remember to write down, I wrote it down.
Yeah, that's the hard part when you're involved in a story and then you have to, after you're done with it or before you're done with it, you're going to write it down. Because what I had a hard time with was trying to figure out what I wrote down, because I would watch 15 minutes of this and 10 minutes of that, and I would flip when I came home from work. So my rule was if I watched it for longer than a half an hour, it went on to the list.
Oh, okay, good.
That's my only restriction.
All right. Sounds good. And then I had a similar rule. I mean, Steph and I don't really watch TV, like flippy channel watch TV. We just like, we're going to watch this and that's what we watch. And then we move on to the next thing because we have short periods of time to watch certain things. And there's so much stuff that I want to watch that just like flipping through channels for me, I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice. I feel like I should be watching this thing. And I'm also trying to minimize my commercial watching, which
Yeah, but is it hard for you to come home from work and decompress by immediately focusing on something? See, that's my
I'm an engineer.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, see, my
I
mind wants a bunch of different choices at one time, and then I go, okay, I want to focus on this now. I can't just come home and pop on a movie and sit down.
Well,
There
I
has
mean,
to be
okay.
transitional time.
I can't watch any movie at any time. There have to, I mean, there are limitations, you know. I'm not gonna, you know, come home from a hard day and then throw on Funny Games or Cheap Thrills or something like that. You know, it's just, yes, there are certain times for certain movies or certain times for certain TV shows, but in general, there's certain things that there are particular things that I want to watch, and some of them are time sensitive as far as like, well, this is going off of Netflix in a month, so I need to make sure I watch that or whatever,
okay.
you know.
Yeah, okay.
So I try to get through some stuff, or if a TV show just comes on, like for example, last night, Orphan Black, I got an email from Netflix, or was it Netflix? Or from Amazon saying that Orphan Black season 2 was on Amazon. And that's a movie or a show that both Steph and I really like. And it's on like BBC, and we don't get BBC. So now that second season is on Amazon, we can watch it. And so we watched the first episode last night. So, so yeah, I mean, I came home and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to watch. But I didn't, turn on the TV beforehand and flip through the channels and then,
Yeah, see, I have to
decide on that.
It's a strange little thing. I have to rev myself up to just focus.
So do you know what I do to decompress, I guess, is I listen to podcasts. I can pop on a podcast. I don't have the TV on. I can listen to it in the car. I can go, get into the apartment, which we're in right now, and I listen to it either just from my phone or put headphones in and listen to it. Or I take the dogs for a walk. If I'm by myself, I'll just have my headphones in and I'll listen to it while I take the dogs for a walk. So, I mean, that's what I use to, I guess, decompress. And then if I sit down in front of a TV, it's going to be a television show or a movie, as opposed to like a scripted television show or a movie.
I got what you mean.
But anyway, or sports. I mean, but sports are more like a weekend thing for me. I don't watch very many sports during the week unless it's an appointment type thing. For me, if it's a special game or something, especially now with basketball, there's certain a basketball game like I want to watch this game, and so.
Well, this is North Carolina. Trust me, you know about it.
That's true.
And if you're not a sports fan, you know about it.
That is true. So anyway, okay, so let's just go through. I'm most interested in movies, in the movies that you've seen.
Okay.
Over the last couple months. So, do you want to go through and just kind of like name a few movies that we've seen?
Well, it's interesting that that's where you want to go, because a lot of this, I realized I watch a lot of TV.
Oh, okay.
But it's because of Netflix and Roku and all that stuff it's accessible. I can go, oh my goodness, I can watch all of Mad Men now. All 6 seasons. And that's exactly what I did. I binge watched it. Well,
how long did it take you?
not long.
Oh,
Surprisingly, not long. I mean,
do you feel like when you do that, do you feel like those characters are kind of like a part of your life? Because I've gotten into that.
you could say that about almost everything I watch.
Okay.
I take it with me. I live it. That's why I say to you, if you want to watch The Diving Bell and The Butterfly, I have to really I had to use this podcast as an excuse to watch it, because I cannot live in that world, because I breathe through the ventilator. I know that sounds kooky, but I can feel it. I can feel the paralyzed shoulder, and I have to shake myself out of it, because my suspension of disbelief is as strong as it was when I was a child. It just is. I just go there. I mean, there is no once upon a time for me. You don't have to say that. You present it correctly and you stay true to your story, I'm in it. I live it. So yeah, what happened is that no, I can separate myself to a degree, because a lot of the attitudes and dispositions and prejudices and sexual innuendos and stuff that went on in the early 60s, late 60s when Mad Men takes place, I can say, oh, I'm glad we don't live in that world anymore. But a lot of the Art Deco design of the apartments and the houses and the clothes especially, I'm like, oh, that's great. I wish we could go back to looking like that without all that other repression. Because, the attitudes suck back then. Like, I wouldn't want to be black. I wouldn't want to be gay. I wouldn't want to be a woman. I wouldn't want to be any of this.
Because you're underneath
back then.
You're underneath. You're in a lower tier.
And then the other thing that it does is that it really lifts me up and gives me hope, because a lot of those attitudes have changed and have been forced to be changed. And a lot of them, whether or not you can openly say those things or not, I guess depends on your group of friends, if you will. But it makes me proud to be a human being that we have looked at those issues and moved on. And this is a reflection of how we used to be, not how we are. So that's always really good. But no, I don't think it lives with me. But you were asking how long it took. I started on the 15th and I didn't watch it the whole entire time. Something came in between it, but it went until, let's see, to the 4th of February.
Wow. So about 2.5 weeks.
And I saw couple of shows in between that.
So like almost about 3 weeks.
Well, think about it this way, because I thought, wow, that's a lot of TV when I was writing it down, which made me really self-conscious about it, which is kind of the reason why I didn't like doing this. I didn't like monitoring what I was watching. It made me feel, I don't know.
It's not for judging though. I think it's,
Yeah, I'm not saying it's supposed to be, and I get why we were doing it, but just made me feel that way. It made me feel like maybe I should be spending my time doing it. But if you think doing something else, but if you think about it, each show's an hour long, which is about 45 minutes without commercials, because you're watching Netflix. So that's an hour and a half. That's 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2.5 hours, give or take, whatever that time frame adds up. So that's about the length of a movie.
It's 3 episodes.
Yeah. So if you watch 3 episodes in a night, it's like watching a movie. So that's basically what I did. So what date did you start on? Because I think I started later than you.
Yeah, I started on the 9th.
Yeah, I think you mentioned
of January.
Yeah, I think you were mentioning that you were doing it, and I was like, well, let's do that together. My first day is the 15th, so I'm just a little bit behind.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, since we're talking about TV shows, let's keep talking about TV shows. There's a few TV shows that, since I have access to HBO Go, I'm able to kind of, I don't want to say binge watch, but I've been able to like watch some of these shows as they come out, because as a show comes out, like even though I don't have HBO, I've got an HBO Go, password thingy from a cousin. So I've been able to watch Newsroom as it comes out.
Yeah, I want to see that.
The Aaron Sorkin show. And I've kept up on Girls. I started in the 2nd season of Girls, and now they're on their 4th season, and they're coming out weekly right now. So Newsroom had 3 seasons, I think, and they just finished their whole series run.
Just 3 or 4?
Maybe it was 4. I think it was 3.
Okay.
I think it was 3 seasons. And this 3rd season was a truncated season. It was like 6 episodes or something like that. It was fairly short. And then the other, do I have it on? Oh, no, I don't have it on here. But last year I saw, True Detective. I watched that as it came out, which was another great show. Another show on HBO that is going on right now is Togetherness, which is the Mark Duplass and his brother Jay Duplass. They made this show.
Melanie
Linsky.
I love her.
Yep, she's awesome.
I love her.
She's really good. She plays. So Mark Duplass and Melanie Linsky are married, and then her sister is in kind of dire straits and ends up having to live with them for a short period of time in LA, and his brother also dire straits, and he's like an actor who's kind of a stalled actor. I guess never even really got started, and he's in his 40s, I think, and right around 40, maybe he's right around 40, and he's overweight, and then her sister is Amanda Peet.
I like her too.
So there's this kind of chemistry between them, and so there's a dynamic there. There's the brother sister sister dynamic, and then there's the husband and wife dynamic where they're kind of in this kind of stalled relationship. They've got a kid. And it's looking at all these different relationships and how they interact, and it's funny, but it's not, I mean, it's, Mark Duplass funny. It is quirky and serious, but they don't take themselves too seriously. I don't think they're definite comedic scenes, but they're grounded in realism.
Yeah, they're truth tellers.
Mm-hmm.
They take whatever the situation is and tell a truth. And whether or not the truth of it is it's funny, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, it's sad, it's real, it's anger, whatever it is, they find a truth in their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the quirkiest stuff that they do. Safety Not Guaranteed. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a strange idea
Yeah.
for a movie, but they play it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same with The One I Love. It's a strange idea
Mm-hmm.
played out, even if they're just actors in it, because
They are just he is just
Right.
an actor. They produced both those movies,
Right.
So they have their own production wing and all that.
they
stuff,
have their
so.
thumbprint on it, though. You
Oh,
can
yeah, they
feel
do,
it.
yeah.
You can feel it.
Mhm.
Well, the other brother, which is one's Mark and one's
Jay.
okay, is it Jay that's in the show or Mark that's in the show?
Mark is in Togetherness and Jay is in.
Transparent,
There
which
you
is
go.
also a show that I binged watched, and that was only 10 episodes, and that's brand
Okay.
new. And it was interesting to watch him as an actor because, I mean, you've seen his brother Mark a lot of times in movies. I've never seen Jay in a movie. Have you ever seen him in a movie?
No, but I think he's been in either a TV show or a movie. I'm not really sure.
Whatever fountain of talent that they drank from, he drank from the same fountain because he's got
Wow.
it, man. There's something infinitely watchable about both of them, but they seem like real people, everyday people. They're not overly attractive. They're not unattractive. They look like normal guys, which makes it that much better to relate to whatever the situation that they're going through is, even if it is the fact that your father now wants to have a sex change and wants to live as a woman. I have no relation to that idea or that storyline, but because he's such grounded in such a real person, comes across as a real person. And Gabby Hoffman's in this show too. She's the young girl who's in Field of Dreams, grown up.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. You know who she is? She is Reese Witherspoon's best friend in Wild, who just has like one or two scenes. She's the dark-headed,
okay.
curly girl, kind of thicker eyebrows.
Uh-huh.
You know who
And she meets her along the way? Or?
No, she meets her in the diner before she takes off, and she's just in like two scenes. Yeah,
okay.
she's got a small part,
cool.
but she plays the sister of Jay Duplass.
And then Judith Light is the mom?
Yeah, Judith Light's the mom, and
Jeffrey Tambor.
Yep, correct. And then the older sister, I've never seen her before, but she's on point too. And the story is obviously about a father who comes to his family and says, you know, listen, I'm really a woman inside. I'm going to pursue living my life as a woman, starts to dress as a woman and so forth and so on. But that's just the overall story. There are all these small little things that intertwine. And the older sister, who I thought was going to be like this very conservative, I don't know what my life is because my father, I can't accept him. She's not that at all. The storyline goes into a completely different way than you're expecting it to go. So I enjoyed it. So anyway, I didn't mean to take away the thunder of Togetherness, but I think those guys, man, they're the type of people that when I see their name now, I'm going to walk towards it. I'm going to want to see it, and I want to pursue it because now they've impressed me enough to consciously know their name. Yeah.
Definitely. And he seems to be a really nice guy. I listened to a podcast recently, it's on my media diary, of he was a guest on Sklarbro Country, which is the Sklar brothers are a twin comedic duo. I mean, they do stand-up comedy and they're twins.
Oh,
And-
I know who they are.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They make commercials and they're semi well known, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean they've had a couple shows.
Yeah.
They've
They
done
look
they've done a
identical,
couple
but when
things.
you sit them next to each other, you can see the differences.
Yeah, and a lot of times one of them wears glasses, the other one doesn't, or one of them has a beard, and, the
and
other
they're
one doesn't.
always on those VH1. Remember the
That's
80s
right. Yeah,
shows?
they are.
Yeah,
And then or the best week ever, those types
Yeah,
of things.
they're
They've been on
funny.
those too. Yeah, they're really funny, and they do kind of like a sports comedy type podcast, and so they had him on there because he's on the Jay Duplass is on the League. Mark Duplass is on the League, which is another TV show on FX, and it's about. Yeah, have you
I
heard
didn't
about
know
that?
that. No,
Oh,
no.
okay. It's about.
no, I know the
fantasy
show. I
football.
didn't know he was on it. Though.
Yeah, he's on it.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Him and Nick Kroll, and there's a couple other people comedy actors that are on there too. But anyway, so he was on the podcast, and he spent a good chunk of the time. They were talking about how he feels some sort of like survivor's guilt, I guess is what they called it, in that they started off at such, with such indie, leanings. I mean, they made their own movies with their own funding, and it was just bare bones. And now they're to the point where they're actually making money. And so that's kind of what they've done, is they've created this production company where they are helping to fund movies that are, under $2 million.
Did he say?
Like that.
Did he call it survivor guilt?
That's what they. I mean,
interesting. That's
well,
interesting.
I mean,
so,
the Sklar brothers are Jewish, and so they kind of give a Jewish spin to certain things, and I've heard that used. I've heard that phrase used before. Survivor's guilt, with reference to the Holocaust and things like that.
Right, but it makes sense what they're talking about. Anything in its due time can be funny if you're looking at
Sure.
it in the right way.
Sure.
So it's no disrespect to any of
No,
those
no.
deeper issues. I get that. But that's interesting. So they're saying that because they're now successful,
Yeah.
that they're feeling a little like, well, what are they supposed to do? Don't they all have families and kids and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean-
So sorry, Johnny, you can only eat peanut butter today because Daddy's still making independent films. I mean,
No. What he feels like is that, I mean, I think that they are to the point now where they can do whatever they want. They could even not work ever again if they wanted to. As far as money's concerned, they're
Really?
set.
good for them.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also because they don't have like Learjets and stuff too. They're probably not. I mean, they're not in the George Clooney range. They don't have a house in Italy, but at the same time, he's pretty much saying that like he doesn't need anything else as far as like physical things and all that. So they put their money into supporting other filmmakers and giving them chances that they would have loved to have when they were coming up.
Paying
So-
it forward, basically.
Yeah.
Well,
it's paying
good.
it forward.
First, nice to hear somebody who's satisfied with what they've got in this world. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I sometimes feel that way when I'm starting to make a little bit more money. I'm starting to become a little bit more secure. I'm like, you know what? I have food. I have clean dishes. This is good, because at some point in time, there were paper plates and, cartons of old whatever in the refrigerator where I'm being like, okay, is it okay to eat that?
Doesn't matter,
I've
gotta
got to
eat it.
wait till 7 days till paycheck before I can get more food. So good for them that they're
Yeah.
doing that.
Okay, well, those are the only shows from HBO that I want to talk about. I mean, you were talking about Transparent. I mean, that's on Amazon. There's another show that just came out called Bosch. Have you heard of that show?
Mm-mm.
It's got Titus Welliver in it. Did you watch Lost?
No.
Okay, I'm
I
trying to think
will
if
one day, but
Yeah, he was in Lost. That's where I kind of saw him. He's been in some other shows and movies. He's kind of like a bit actor from what I've seen. I mean, he may have starred in something, I don't know, but it's it's set in Los Angeles, and it's a crime drama. I've only seen the first episode, and they just started coming out with new episodes. And he kind of plays a curmudgeonly type of a detective, and he's just kind of over it. But then he finds this one case that he kind of gets focused on. It's a young girl that well, I don't even know if they know if it's a girl or not. A young child was killed a long time ago. They find this kid's bones up in the Hollywood Hills or something, and so he has to try to figure out if he can, if he can figure out this crime. So yeah, and he's got a backstory of like his mom was a prostitute, and like, I mean, it's just
so up till now it sounds pretty normal. But
It's-
what makes it different?
So
what makes it interesting for you?
I think it's that it's grittier than, I mean, it's not. So you can tell that there's depth to the character, and I think a lot of it has to do with the actor. A lot of it has to do with Titus Welliver and how he comes across on screen, and it makes me want to know just how he carries himself. Makes me want to know more about that. Want to know more about that character, and then also they do, like I said, drop hints of like there's more to this. I mean, he's never a guy. He's not the department darling. He nobody really likes him, and yet he still constantly does the work. He was supposed to have like a paid leave because he was being investigated for something. He came back to work because he was trying to work on, that's like his life. He's one
Right.
of those, he's
That's what
addicted
defines
to
him.
work.
Yeah.
And so you see somebody like that, and you want to figure out, he's trying to fill a hole in his life with work. and you want to know, what created that hole and what shape is that hole. So, and then we talked about The Fall, which
Yeah.
you just started watching.
Yeah, which is on the end of my list, but yeah, I on episode 5.
Oh, cool. Of the first season, right?
Yes, Gillian Anderson. And what's the guy's name?
Jamie Dornan?
Yes, from 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
Yes. Is he Irish in real life?
I think so.
Well, it's set in Belfast, which right there makes it, that's like going to Haiti. If anything's in Haiti, you're like, well, voodoo. Belfast, oh, IRA, oh, this is not. I mean, they even say to her, you got to carry a gun. This is Belfast. So once you see that you're in Northern Ireland, it's going to be interesting. And we were talking about this before the podcast, is that it's the same kind of serial killer being tracked by a detective story that we've seen 100 million times, Silence of the Lambs. But what's interesting about it is, first of all, the actors are top notch. And other than them two, and the only reason why I know him is because of 50 Shades of Grey, which I have not seen. And, I've just seen him in trailers and stuff like that. Of course, you know her from the X-Files. But everybody else is pretty unknown to my eyes. I mean, I've seen a few of the actors before, but I don't know them by name. But what's interesting about the show so far and what has gotten me intrigued is, first of all, there's like these really incredible camera angles. I don't know if you remember in the first season when they're going from bedroom to bedroom in his house.
And it's a top
It's
down.
above everything, and it's going over top of the kid's room. I love shots like that because it makes you realize that you're watching something that's not. It's a TV show, and they're making you aware that this is a fictional world, but at the same time, you're seeing a perspective that you would never see before. But that brings an attitude and a disposition to the scene that you wouldn't feel if you couldn't do that overhead camera shot.
Yeah, it's disconcerting. I mean, because it's not natural.
And you're going through walls, even though you're not, or you're going above walls. And now, because I know you, I'm trying to figure out how they did that shot. But it still didn't pull me out of it, which is really good. All it did was make me go, something's happening here, and I'm feeling it on some kind of emotional level, and it's because of the shots. And there's a couple of really cool in the car, steamy windows in the mirror, and the way the camera comes into the car and goes back out through the mirrors and back out through the windows. Very interesting stuff. But what makes it interesting and keeps me watching it to this point is that the way that the story is told is different than I've ever seen before. And I was trying to describe it to you in the beginning. She's investigating a murder that's already happened, and we're in on it because we know who the murderer is from the very beginning. But you're watching the murderer do what he does, but it's not in the real time.
Yeah.
And at first you're not sure, wait, is she investigating this before he did it or trying to figure out what he's doing after he did it? You're not really sure. So you're not on solid ground when you first watch it.
But it makes you pay attention more.
Absolutely.
And so it's effective because you lock in easier than just like, oh, well, I see this all the time on Law and Order or whatever.
Yeah, because when you see him, and I'm not giving anything away because you can't, it's one of those things where you could describe it from beginning, middle to end, and still watching it would be that much more interesting because even describing it, you can't give things away. It's a visual, it's an emotional ride. The thing is that when you first see him and his first victim, you're not sure what time frame this is. You're like, wait, is this happening now? Wait, but that's supposed to be happening because she talked about that. And then you're trying to put it all together, and then you're shocked by what he's doing, and you're like, wait, what's going on here? And it's infinitely interesting so far. So, and then they started in the third or fourth episode, started really doing kind of the cliffhanger type of thing where just something happens to where he almost gets caught, or he does something that is out of the pattern that he's been doing it. And you're like, wait, what's going to happen next? So now in the fifth episode, you're like, what's happening next? So you have all of that plus the intrigue and the cliffhanger. I'm in.
And the second season is a little bit different because you've kind of already gone through a full season. And I mean, there's a second season. So obviously the story still continues past the first season.
Right.
When I watched it, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen because there wasn't a second season when I was watching it. So, and nowadays, especially when you've got these kind of, the Fargos and the True Detectives where it's kind of like all wrapped up in one
mini series.
You're kind of like invested and you want to see it through to the end. But in this second season, everybody, you still have the same characters, but it's a different kind of an attitude. in that you find yourself more worried about the killer getting caught. Like there's a portion you probably are already kind of feel.
No, I
this.
already sense that.
You're not rooting for him.
No.
But at the same time you're like, oh, maybe how's he gonna get out of this?
Well, because she's like, you messed up, we're going to get you. And you're like, no, he's smarter than you.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, wait, did you just root for the serial killer?
Exactly.
And you're thinking, well, yes, because this show is twisted in a way that you're not sure where your sensibilities and I mean, of course, you're not rooting for the serial killer.
Yeah, of course he's a horrible person, but
you're like, wait, can he get away with this?
yeah,
so far?
And then you start saying like, what would be my next step? And you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, and that's good because when they take the next step and it's not the step you think they're taking or that you would take, like, yeah, there's a whole cell phone thing on in the 4th episode, and you're like, wait, I would have gotten rid of that a while ago. And then something happens and you're like, oh, okay, no, that's actually
probably
smart.
better.
Yeah, that's a better move. Yeah. So anyway, let's get to some of the movies on this list and then we'll move on to our little movie that we're going to talk about this episode. So the first movie that I watched after the 15th was something called Green Street Hooligans. Have you heard about this?
Heard of it.
Elijah Wood, Charlie Hunnam, Sons of Anarchy. So, Frodo and, Sons of Anarchy. I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about this American who goes to England because he loses his job and he hooks up with his sister, who I think is Amanda Peet. No. Who's the woman who's in Meet Joe Black? What's her name? Beautiful. Filani. I can't think of her name.
I'll find it.
Yeah. Beautiful woman. Anyway, Elijah Woods' sister, who's married to a guy in England, and so he goes over there to visit, and Charlie Hunnam is this guy's brother, her brother-in-law, basically.
Okay.
And he's really into soccer, football, and there are gangs that are street gangs based on your love for a football team, soccer. And it's basically, this big kind of fighting, brawling gang that roots for Manchester United, which is a football team, or whatever the town you come from. And there are certain levels in these gangs, leaders. I forget what the leader is called in the one, but the Elijah Woods' brother-in-law happened to be the leader, and Charlie Hunnam is sort of becoming the leader. And it's all about this world that I've never seen before. And it's got this really hokey, tacked on ending that would have never happened. And you're like, well, what is she doing there? What? And you're like, okay, wait. They just wanted a movie moment, and and you could feel like it was just written, and it might have worked on paper, but it doesn't work in the film. But it's interesting because I don't know anything about that world. I didn't know that football teams had these big fan base. I mean, I knew football is huge in the rest of the world other than America, but I didn't know that they had these rival street gangs that actually fight before, during, and after the games. It's kind of like Quadrophenia. You ever seen Quadrophenia? Yeah, the Mods and the Rockers. It's 2 separate groups. And it's basically leather motorcycle gang versus raincoat wearing Vesta driving guys, right? It's a Who movie. It's based on the Who album. Anyway, so it's sort of similar to that because I didn't know anything about that world. So it was interesting to watch, but not anything that I would say run out and go see unless you're you see it on Redbox and you're like, okay, yeah, I like these people, so forth and so on. I think it was my last at-home Netflix that I came in the mail. I think it was the last one on my queue that came in.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I let it come through, because I thought, So what's the first movie on your list that we haven't talked about?
The Guest. That's from Simon Barrett and Adam Wingard. Those guys did You're Next.
Yeah.
So it's also a fairly low budget, but this one is about a guy who he was stationed with his friend in he became friends with the guy when they were stationed in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then his friend was killed, and then he comes back and he told his friend that he was going to take care of his friend's family, and he's taking it very seriously. And you find out, I mean, there's reasons why, but he's taking it very seriously. He comes back and kind of shows up and integrates himself very quickly into this family. And it's a husband and wife, and then a son and a daughter. And he does some crazy stuff. I mean, there's some violent scenes in there, and he's trying to make the family's life better, but the way he does it, there's comedy, and it's kind of like an off-kilter thriller, I guess. And so I was all in because of You're Next, and how what they did, what those two guys, the writer and director, did for, horror movies. I mean, it was it wasn't scary movie type horror where it's like self-referential or anything like that. I mean, it was a straightforward horror movie. In the same way, this is a straightforward kind of like 80s action movie, but not like Die Hard 80s action, kind of like a more B style
When
80s
did it come
action
out?
movie. Oh, last year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty new. But yeah, so that was the first one. And then there's a couple, I played Road to Perdition for my wife. We watched it.
Love
So
that movie.
It's been a while. She's like, she saw Jude Law and she's like, why does he look so ugly? she's like, he's hot. I like him. But I was like, oh,
and he gets worse.
he gets
Yeah,
crazy
Daniel
in that
Craig.
movie. Yeah, Daniel Craig has a horrible accent in that movie.
But he's spooky, creepy, weird in that.
He is, but it's yeah. But his accent totally takes me out of that.
Yeah, I can't say that it bothered me enough. I love the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that Tom Hanks was supposed to be in American Beauty and Kevin Spacey was supposed to be in Road to Perdition?
Wow.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
Sam Mendes just flip-flopped him, or?
Well, I don't know. I think Tom Hanks turned down American Beauty and then said, after American Beauty, I'll do whatever because
Because Kevin Spacey won an Academy Award.
well, that and so did Sam Mendes for his first
That's true.
movie. Yeah, so I loved Road to Perdition. I thought it got underplayed because it didn't get the acclaim that American Beauty. I loved Paul Newman in it. It's his last Oscar
I love
nomination.
Paul Newman. Period. He's the
But
man.
speaking of a great accent in that, and Jennifer Jason Leigh takes this little part. Good for her. I
Yeah.
like when people do stuff like that, when
Yeah.
they just show up because of the work, not because it's the greatest part or it's Oscar worthy or anything. She just showed up to work with Sam Mendes, Tom Hanks, and she does her job.
I think she's in the new Trainwreck movie, the Amy Schumer movie that's directed by Judd Apatow.
Well, isn't she the lead in Heart 8?
No.
Are you sure? She's
You
in.
mean the woman in Heart 8 is Gwyneth Paltrow.
No, I'm sorry, not Heart 8. The new Tarantino movie,
Oh, Ungrateful 8 or something like that. What is it called?
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight. There we
Yeah.
go. I don't know. She's probably one of the 8, I guess.
No, I think she's the lead.
Oh, that's cool.
But anyway, good for her.
That's great. Yeah. And then my sister was here for a while, and I showed her a couple movies. His Girl Friday, Cabin in the Woods. We watched Lego Movie, but I think she'd already seen that. And then there were those are the two that she hadn't seen before. And then we saw Saving Mr. Banks when she was here.
Cabin in the Woods. What is that movie all about?
I love it.
Do you?
I do.
You don't? Okay. Yeah, okay. I think it's one of those taste things. The next one on my list is American Sniper on the 20th. So
cool.
we've talked about that, obviously. Big fan.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next on yours?
Oh, I mean,
Let me flip through the 3 weeks of Mad Men.
Sarah and I watched Observe and Report. My sister and I watched Observe and Report. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, with you gave it to
With
me.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Yep.
You gave that to me. To
Oh,
watch.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it is.
It's funny.
It is. I think she liked it.
I like
Yeah.
when people take themselves way too seriously and just the balance of the scales is completely off. He's a mall cop.
Yeah, but he doesn't think that.
Yeah, which is great. And I love his mother. Who's that actor? She's in everything.
She's in a lot of stuff.
Everything.
Yep. Claire Forlani is not his mother, but that's who you were thinking of
Yes,
earlier.
I like her too.
But yeah, so I have seen her. I've seen the woman who plays his mother in a bunch of different
In
things.
everything.
Yeah. And then I mean, just This Is Where I Leave You. Did you see that movie? That's got Jason Bateman and Jane Fonda, Adam Driver from Girls.
No, but I want to.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. And
It's okay.
what's her name? 30 Rock.
Tina Fey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's got her, and then I'm trying to think. There's another guy in there, but
Did you say Adam Driver? You
I
said
just said
yeah.
Adam Driver,
Yeah.
and then there's another brother. Oh, Corey Stoll from House of Cards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him. I knew he was going to get work after that first
Yeah,
season. Yeah,
yeah.
he's very good.
And what about you? What's your next?
Well, the rest are pretty much Oscar movies. Wild, which was on the 30th. Two Nights, One Day, the Marion Cotillard film that she was nominated for.
2 Days, 1 Night.
Yeah, what'd I say? I'm looking right at it.
2 Nights, 1 Day is what you said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said because that's what I wrote down. Because yeah, and then the Lego movie's on there too. There's this Oscar special that was on Turner Classic Movies. Have you seen that documentary? It's sort of like a documentary, and it's all about past winners and what the experience was like. And I've seen it a couple times, but the reason, of course, it's Oscar season, so that's probably the reason why I clicked into it. But Benicio del Toro tells this really cute story where he's like, I thought I was going to win until I was in the seat. And then I knew I wasn't going to win.
Oh.
And then they called my name and I was like, wait, I really did win. And then he thought about all of those things that he really told you the truth about how you really want it. You want to win.
Oh.
You go there wanting to win. I don't care if you think nobody thinks you have a chance. You go there to win. Because I often think to myself, what does somebody like Laura Dern this year for Wild, does she go there thinking she does have a chance? Because it was pretty much a lock that Patricia Arquette was going to win. I mean, maybe Emma Stone might have thought, and you could see it on Emma Stone's face that people have been whispering in her ear, if it's not Patricia Arquette, it's you. You could see it. And I mean, that's complete conjecture. I have no idea whether or not that's the truth. But I'm wondering, what did Steve Carell feel like? Did he really think he had some kind of a chance? And I like what my friend in college and theater school said. Your name's on the ballot. Yeah, you have a chance. You never know until the name is called. Even if you're the fifth nomination, the dark horse, whatever, people have won who've been in that position. So it was neat to hear Benicio del Toro talk about. Yeah, and he's so funny. He's like, I thought the whole time I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Then he sits down. He's like, I'm not going to win. Yeah, it's funny. And there's they talked to Jane Fonda. They talked to a bunch of different Oscar winners and just the whole experience and what it's like and the history of it and how it started out. So yeah, it's on Turner Classic Movies every year because they do the 31 Days of Oscars, which was great for a movie watcher because they show everything during those 31 days. And it still goes until like March 3rd, I think. So it's still going on. Yeah, because February is a short month. So it still goes. So yeah, that was one of the other things that I saw.
All right. Inside Man. Steph and I watched that.
With Russell Crowe?
No, that's The Insider.
Oh, that's
Inside
right.
Man is the Spike Lee movie.
Oh, yeah.
With Denzel Washington and Clive Owen.
Yeah, I like that movie. And Jodie Foster and a nice little twist of what she normally does.
Yeah, and then Steph and I watched Tiny Houses, which is a documentary on Netflix about people who live in tiny houses, like a house built on a trailer. Like you're talking anywhere from 100 square feet to 200, 300 square feet, and that's it.
The size of one of those crates that they use on a train to move.
Smaller than that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Like half the size of that.
Half the size of that.
And they're like, this is all we really needed.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, but they've got internet and they've got all that stuff. But then one of the ones that are in there, they're like, the composting of our own feces isn't that bad. And it's like, oh.
What do? They go outside and put it into a compost?
Well, we probably don't want to talk about that.
Okay. Have you seen that show Tree Houses? Where
no.
It's all about like building tree houses, like major tree houses, not like your kid tree house. It's like a tree. It's like a house you would live in or a vacation house that you build in a tree. And there's this whole
Golly.
show. Well, I mean,
talk about people with too much money.
Hey, man, you know what? If we have to watch the Kardashians and all those, the Vanderpumps or whatever those people are, I mean, I would rather watch them build a tree house because I'm like, I want one of those when I become rich.
And then, do you want to talk about Men, Women, and Children?
Sure, we can go there.
That's about the time.
So let's wrap this up really quick. Was this a worthy exploration to write down the shows for you? Like, what did it do for you, or what your media diary? What did it?
I think that it in some ways it was a little annoying. Yeah. Because I had to keep track of it.
I'm glad you said that.
I don't think that it's helping me set up like what I want to watch next. Because it's what's already happened as opposed to what I think I would probably benefit from, kind of like scheduling shows that I want to watch,
Like
or
your own
movies that I want to
personal
see.
queue.
Yeah, like my own personal queue, but it needs to be like a huge mega queue,
Yeah.
or like, you know,
With
Uber
everything.
queue
Yeah.
that has, you know, Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and all that stuff all kind of like all in one, and then I can kind of pick and choose, like, you know, do I really want to watch this show about a serial killer, or do I want to watch, you know, a 30-minute comedy about, you know, two 20-something women who are both idiots, which is called Broad City, and it's really funny. So if you want to watch something, I mean,
never
it's
heard
on
of it.
Amazon.
Yeah.
It's funny, but they're just two idiotic 20-something women. And we've seen movies about idiotic 20-something men, you know, for
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And this is a
Well, there's a whole revolution happening with that kind of scenario with girls, and now that comedian who's got her own movie coming
Amy
out.
Schumer.
Yes, thank you. So it's nice. You're right, because we have seen decades of guys doing this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So good for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and I guess if we're moving away from this whole thing, what did you feel?
I can't imagine doing it for a whole year.
Yeah.
But I don't have the willpower and stamina to make a major motion picture. And Steven Soderbergh has an Oscar proving he can.
Okay.
So I'm sure he can. And I guess what he took out of it, I don't know. Maybe he was more curious what his watching patterns were. What I found was that I found myself censoring what I would watch, because I was like, do I want to write that down and let people know I'm watching the Gilmore Girls? Not that I'm ever embarrassed, because I
Yeah.
definitely think the Gilmore Girls is a great show.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh, and by the way, I watched all of the first season of Masters of Sex. I wanted to
Oh,
mention
okay.
that. Yeah. Michael Sheen's
There's
on
a couple
point.
I want to mention too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an on-point show. My buddy lent it to me, and I'm glad that he did, because it was worth a watch. But in the end, when I finally gave myself into it, and I wrote everything down, and I re-looked at it today, I thought, you know what? I'm kind of proud of my movie-going experiences and what I watch. I would watch all these things again, and I don't know why I felt a little self-conscious about that. I don't know. I guess maybe because you just don't document those things. So once it's documented, it's for people to see. It's going to be recorded. We're going to talk about it, and people can now point their finger at you and say, "Yeah, you like that stupid show?" I mean, not that I even care about that, but it made me aware of that more than I would ever. Like, if I watch a show, I have to share it with the person that I watched the show. I have to choose to say I've watched
It's
it.
an accountability partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But writing it down and then talking about it on a podcast makes your accountability even more present. So I didn't enjoy always being aware of what I was watching. Sometimes I just wanted to flow and just pick something and go for it. But overall, I recommend everything I saw again to people to see,
That's
because
great.
I found it interesting. So it's an interesting dichotomy between self-consciousness and loving art so much so that you didn't care. So there you go. Birdman.
Yeah. So a couple of shows that we didn't talk about, but I think are definitely worth a watch. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is
funny.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
I mean, we love that show. And Mozart in the Jungle, we watched that whole. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Only one season has been made of it. They're going to make a second season, but it's got Gael Garcia Bernal in it, who was in Y Tu Mamá También. Most recently, he was in Rosewater, the Jon Stewart movie.
Oh, yeah, which I want to see.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was the star in that movie, and then so he's in it, and then Bernadette Peters is in it, and Saffron Burrows.
You're
Yeah.
naming people I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I know Bernadette Peters,
and then
of course.
also she was in Gone Girl, and she played the hick girl in the who befriended Amy.
Oh,
the
yeah,
hick
yeah,
girl.
yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I
And
see her
then-
face.
Yes, and she looks totally different in this show. It's about New York Symphony, the New York Symphony, which I don't even think exists. It's called the New York Philharmonic, I think, really. But it's about the New York Symphony and a new conductor that comes in. Malcolm McDowell from A Clockwork Orange.
I've heard this.
Plays the old.
I've heard of this.
The old maestro, and a new maestro comes in. That's Gael Garcia Bernal.
Just the idea that I've never seen a show about a symphony before makes me want to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me goes, okay, that's a storyline I've never seen. I'm sure it's cutthroat.
Yeah, it is, and you can definitely see that, especially with this character. Who and I don't know why I can't remember her name, but I mean, she is awesome.
You mean the hick girl?
Yes, the hick girl. And
God forbid she ever hears that. You know what I mean?
you know what?
She's probably
Lola Kirk.
She's
That's her
probably happy you're watching it.
Yeah, well, but I mean, she's got an interesting life because her dad was in Foreigner, and her sister is Jemima Kirk, who's in the show Girls. Which, have you seen Girls at all?
I saw the first season. Yeah.
Okay, she's the British.
Yeah. I love her.
Yeah, her sister is I guess has an American accent, and she's beautiful, and she's that like natural beauty. She kind of looks like she doesn't really wear makeup or doesn't have to wear makeup, and I love
Yeah,
that.
I like that too.
I love that whole thing. So, and a couple more shows. Black Mirror. I don't think that's on Netflix anymore.
Is that the one with Daniel Radcliffe and?
No, that's a British. You're thinking of Woman in Black, which is a movie.
No, he did a show with John Hamm and.
Oh, that one is called the. I know what you're talking about. I watched the first season and it's good. I like it. I like it a lot.
It's in my back of my head of what to pursue.
It's a long. It's like the something handbook. Or something.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
Yeah,
but Black Mirror.
But Black Mirror is a BBC show, and it's kind of like each episode is its own contained thing, and they're I think about an hour long, hour and 20 minutes long, something like that. And they all talk about how we interact with technology now, and how that's going to expand. Some of the episodes are about in the future, in a fictional future, and some of the episodes are set kind of in modern day, but just kind of taking technology to the nth degree and how it can be used for bad and what certain eventualities could be, kind of
which would be a perfect transition into Men, Women, and Children.
That's true. Yeah.
Which we mentioned 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that now, I guess. So that's Jason Reitman's new movie.
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons is in it.
Yep.
Barely.
That's
3
okay.
scenes, but you know what? They all work.
That would be Academy Award winner, J.K. Simmons.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
I just have to say it because
That's fine.
good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to say about this movie is I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad you told me about it because I did want to see it, but then it got tore up. And my first thought was, why did people hate this movie so much? It's not that bad. It's a bit of a mess. It's too much in some places, but it's not that bad. It's not as bad as everybody tore it up. I mean, I went back and looked at some of the reviews and I was like, I don't, it's almost like somebody like, I don't know, everybody woke up on the wrong side of the bed before they saw the screening or something. It's I don't know what it is. I don't know why people were so, or reviewers or critics or whoever these people are that write all this stuff down, they were mean about it too. You know, he's lost his touch. He never really had it. This proves it. He was a one-hit wonder. It's all about his cast and not him. And I thought, it's not that bad. Did you think it was that bad?
No, I didn't think it was that bad, but it's not subtle at all.
But that doesn't make it a bad movie.
But I feel like he could have done better.
Absolutely.
And that maybe is where they're, hopefully that's where they're coming from.
Mean, dude. No, they were vicious. It was like they were waiting for, it's very much an American thing. We want these people to be heroes. We want these people, rock stars, singers, actors, theater people, musicians, symphonies, all these people. We want all these people to be our heroes. And then when we put them on that pedestal, we can't wait to knock them down. It bothers me. I don't understand it. If you're going to be objectively critical about something, which is near to impossible because everything's subjective. You can't not have your own experience influence what you're seeing. But, you know, I read a review once where this theater critic said that this guy opened his mouth so much during his speeches that he thought he was trying to catch flies. And I was like, wait, what? I know this reviewer. So I got into a situation with him and I said, you know, what was that all about? Why did that seemed personal and mean. It didn't seem objective to the play. And he said, oh yeah, I was jet lagged. I was in a bad mood. I said, well, you should have written that. Maybe I shouldn't be at this play right now. I'm not very objective, but this is how I saw it because I was jet lagged.
Yeah.
Then be like that. Anyway, enough said about that. I mean, we can go on and on and on about critics and being jaded and all that other stuff, but back to the movie. The only thing I would say other than it's an interesting idea.
The concept.
The concept. Yeah. Somebody should have done this at some point. Do we have a description pulled up or... it's basically
I can pull it
about
up.
5 or 6 families who are living in the computer age and what happens with them, their different situations. Some of it's online stuff, some of it's online dating, some of it's downloading inappropriate material, some of it's being desensitized because you're downloading. This one teen young man can't be aroused except for watching this kind of S&M type pornography.
Yeah, well, his first interaction, his first sexual exposure was to extreme pornography, and so he can't
interact with a real person and have a sexual experience. I don't know if I really buy that from anybody 16, 17, and 18 years old. I think if anybody's in front of you
that's what I'm
at
saying.
that
It's like
age
this
and they're
movie-
willing,
Yeah.
you're probably going to go for it.
But this movie uses a huge
terrible.
sledgehammer.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't use it doesn't use a light touch, and I think that's the. I mean, I'm trying to look back on Jason Reitman's other movies. I mean, I look at some of the scenes between Patton Oswalt and Charlize Theron in Young Adult.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they were deep, they were subtle. I mean, you could feel emotions between the two even without speaking. And now in this movie, things are just kind of like things are telegraphed like way down the line. I mean, the Judy Greer character you can see coming from a mile away. That's the mother. She's exploiting her daughter. She's taking pictures of her and putting it on the internet.
I do like that actress, though.
She's great.
She's been in everything.
Yeah, she's an Archer. She's great in Archer. Have you seen that show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it is funny. It's got a really strange disposition. It's got
I love it.
Its sensibility is really off. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. I get it. I'm not a big fan. I don't watch it on a regular, but I get it. Mm-hmm. The thing about that storyline is that she seems like she's naive to what she's done. The mother selling pictures of her underage daughter on the internet. You think she has justified it and made sense out of it, but yet you find out later on that she really does feel.
Yeah, but her switch is like, I mean, it's like that.
Okay.
It's just not believable.
And I thought about that. The issue is that you're exactly right. It's got a sledgehammer feeling to it, but because it has too many ideas at one time. What he should have done is he should have minimized it to 3 families.
Yeah.
Or
something.
And one of the daughters of the family is taking inappropriate pictures. And the other thing that I finally realized that I like to redo things in my head. As a matter of fact, I recast Hamlet. I know this is off subject. Recast the play Hamlet with all the Oscar nominees. Why not Eddie Redmayne as Hamlet?
Okay.
And Julianne Moore as Gertrude, his mother. Why not? And Michael Keaton as his stepfather, his uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? And then you got Benedict Cumberbatch. He could play Laertes. You've got Felicity Jones, who could play
Ophelia.
Yeah, why not? They should do it. Anyway, the one thing that I know is a little tirade. I'm glad I got that in though. But it thrilled me to think, wow, all these actors would be great in these parts. Anyway, back to this movie. If he had minimized it and he had recast it, if Jennifer Gardner had played
The Judy Greer character?
No. The Adam Sandler's wife.
Rosemary DeWitt.
Yes, who I love, who we love.
me
Sorry,
too.
I couldn't remember her name. I would have gotten it. If they had switched parts, if Jennifer Gardner has played the woman who was cheating on her husband,
Bored in her marriage.
who's bored in
Yeah.
her marriage, and Rosemary DeWitt had played the overprotective mother, it might have made more sense to me.
To me, that doesn't really matter. I mean, I think they're both, as actresses, they would have both been fine in either role, I think, which is a statement that, to me, that.
So just dissuade everything out, or just throw
Oh, okay.
I'm just teasing.
No.
You're
Okay,
like,
but
yeah, that
so
doesn't count.
but what you're saying is that Jennifer Garner's not as good of an actress as Rosemary DeWitt.
No. What I'm saying is that it's always, that's the obvious choice that he made. Jennifer Gardner as the overprotective, kind of repressed conservative. You can see that in her. her playing the bored housewife, or even the mother who takes inappropriate pictures of her daughter. Sometimes you have to switch it up and cast people in roles that you're not expecting them in. For example, the reason why I started thinking about this was because of Adam Sandler. He's in a role you're not normally used to him playing, and he's very good in this. And
But he stinks of Punch Drunk Love.
you think so?
I think so.
No.
And I didn't see Rain Over Me.
I saw it. It's okay.
I would have to, like, if I looked at that movie and I see certain similarities in there, then that would make me kind of like make a hard stance on Adam Sandler and say, like, if he's in a dramatic movie, then this is his route. You know, he's kind of like, you know,
First
that.
of all, did I say dissuade? Is that even a word?
That's a word.
Is it a word? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm owning it.
Good.
Anyway, it bothers me when I hear myself sometimes. Anyway, I see what you're saying, but I like that quality of him. So it doesn't bother me. I get what you're saying. So the interesting question is then, why are we talking about it based on you wanting to see it and then telling me I wanted to see it? Like what makes
Because
it?
the concept is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm not trying to
the
make you
graphics-
defensive. I'm
No,
just
no,
trying
no.
to say, what is it that?
The way they integrate the graphics, like if somebody's looking at a computer screen or if somebody's looking at a phone screen, it pulls us into their point of view. You get the best of both worlds. You get to see their reaction to a text coming in or a picture popping up on the screen, and you see that picture or you see that text, and you also see their face. And seeing some of those, especially the conversations between the kind of like what do they call that? Star-crossed lovers.
Yeah.
The Ansel Elgort and I can't remember her name.
The fact that you can remember all these people's names will let you slide on this one.
I love
The
her,
young
though.
ingenue.
Yeah. I love her too. I just saw her in another movie too recently. She was in
He's looking it up. Ladies and gentlemen.
Laggies. She was in Laggies.
Never even heard of it.
It's a pretty good movie. It's okay. It's got Keira Knightley in it and Sam Rockwell, who's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so the conversation between those two, being able to see their facial expressions, it's close to the end of the movie. They have a very intense conversation, and it's over text, I guess. So, and then also seeing he has a conversation with her mom.
Yeah.
For various other reasons, and being able to see his reactions to that too.
Think of Rosemary DeWitt in that scene versus Jennifer Gardner.
I like Rosemary DeWitt more than Jennifer Gardner, so that right there is fine by me.
Okay.
But yeah, I understand what you're saying. You're saying there's ways to make things
Way
change
more
things
interesting.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, he should have minimized. He should have cut it down to 3 families. He should have given all of those issues to 3 families. 3 families to focus on. And the affairs or whatever may happen between people should have happened in between those 3 families. So if Jennifer Gardner was going to cheat, she should have cheated with Adam Sandler. He should have brought it down. There was too many ideas at one time. I do like that idea of seeing the pop-up text.
Yeah.
And then when they're walking in the mall, you realize how many people
Yeah,
they're really not paying attention to anything going on except for,
what's directly in front of them.
Did you want to say anything else? Because the other point that, not that you're not going to say anything else, but the other point that dawned on me today when I was thinking about talking about this movie was they don't show any other side of the internet. They don't show any of the good side. What about all those missing people who found their relatives through the internet? What about all of those exams and tests and research papers and everything were that much better and the student was able to study because they had the internet? What about all of the gifts that you could buy on the internet at the last moment because you forgot somebody's anniversary and you saved they don't show any of the good sides to the internet. So it doesn't balance the equation for me.
No.
But overall, I think it's worth seeing. I think it's a lot to take in, but I think it's a definitely be careful what you wish for tale. Because you're going to get it. And this is what the logical absurdity of this world leads to. But he just the reason why I think those other movies that you've mentioned, Young Adults and Juno, which
Thank You for Smoking is another one.
because it's 5 or 6 people.
Yeah. It's also a satire too, so he comes at it from
but
that angle.
Up in the Air is not a satire. Well, a little bit. It's satirical, sort of, which he is kind of. You're right. This is definitely nothing.
This is not a satire.
Not at all.
This is a melodrama.
And it should have been a little bit of that in there. But if you think about it, Up in the Air is really 3 characters. And then minor characters that revolve around them in minor situations. Juno is 4 characters, 5 characters, maybe a little bit more. And then the other minor characters that jump around them. Same with Thank You for Smoking. It's 5 or 6 characters.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's wrong with this film. Even Labor Day, which doesn't work that well as a movie. I mean, the performances are outstanding.
They are.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
It's Kate Winslet.
And Josh Brolin. I mean,
Who
both
had a
those guys,
banner
yeah.
year that year. He's fantastic in that. But you know what? This is where everybody started to love to hate Jason Reitman, is in that peach pie making scene in Labor Day. Everybody tore it up. They called it like the peach pie ghost scene.
But why did Ghost work and the Peach Pie scene not work?
Well,
I mean, if you're gonna do that, then you need to downplay the Ghost scene. Then
I didn't have a problem with it even being an homage to the Ghost scene. I liked Ghost. I liked that scene. I liked the use of that song. I don't think that he chose wisely enough to reflect it, and he didn't make good choices in the way he shot it, so it didn't work, and it kind of made it easy to make fun of him in that, but it didn't take away from the movie. But yet again, that film works on a better level because it is 3 or 4 people, and then J.K. Simmons comes in. you know what I mean?
did he give them the peaches?
Yeah, he gives them the peaches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an important role because it sets it up for something to happen. This movie, you know that this is going to end a couple of different ways. A marriage is going to end. A kid's going to try to commit suicide. I'm not saying any of this stuff does happen. I'm saying that there's only 1 or 2 ways that this movie could have ended. And if it was 3 or so families that you could focus on, 1 or 2 kids with these issues, and then somebody representing the other side. That's my major issue with this film. But I definitely say it intrigued me. I was not bored. I was interested in how it was going to play out. I liked, what's the gentleman from Breaking Bad?
Dean Norris.
Yeah, I was going to say Dean, but I thought that was his Breaking Bad character. I liked how he is not who you think he's supposed to be in the movie. He's something else. See, that storyline for me worked. The father who has the widower. Oh no, the mother.
He's not a widower.
Yeah, the mother leaves.
Yeah.
See, to me, I was more interested why she left than anything else with his storyline. Like, what was going on with that?
But you can't see that because the impact of that whole relationship is the only way she interacts with them is accidentally over Facebook.
Right, because he kind of Facebook stalks her.
No, he doesn't Facebook stalk her. He's still her friend, and then she posts a picture of her getting married
right.
to her
You're right.
boyfriend,
You're right.
and then she immediately takes it off, but he already has seen it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's what it is it's people not realizing what they do on social media affects other people or how it affects other people and possibilities of that. And that was an example. So I understand, you could write an article about all this stuff and maybe less people would see it, I guess. And so maybe that's why you made a movie about it. But there would be interesting articles about, all these different, possibilities or This American Life podcast or something about how people have been affected by social media inadvertently, That would be interesting to me, but
I still come back.
But
to
it would
the
be
same,
grounded in real life.
Yeah,
so.
but you're pinpointing it to one way of talking about it, and if he had pinpointed one of the issues or 2 of the issues, like I just said a couple times, then we could see a reflection of how we choose to use the internet through that.
Yeah.
So if it was just about the mother who takes inappropriate pictures, when that first gets set up, I'm like, where is this?
It's not believable.
Well, it's not that it's not believable. It's interesting, but if it had been one of 3 stories and you followed that through, then instead of the stakes are high in that situation, but the outcome is not worth it. What she doesn't get because she's doing this inappropriate behavior is not a huge deal. I mean, it's a huge deal to the girl, but you remember she just doesn't get to go onto that TV show and all that other stuff. And I definitely don't believe a producer of a TV show would have that conversation with the mother. You're selling pictures that nobody sells pictures of their child. Yeah, it's overdrawn, no doubt about it. But in the beginning of the film, when she's taking pictures and she just haphazardly, very casually looks at her daughter and who's not wearing a lot of clothes, and she says, "Oh, are you comfortable, honey?" Like, because she was almost
because she feels that it's wrong because it's wrong, and she knows that it's wrong.
Yeah. So what happened to her to make her feel guilty, and what happened to her to override that guilt and take the pictures anyway and sell the pictures anyway? It was much more interesting of a story than what happens.
They kind of talk about that. She's a failed actress. She went out to LA, it didn't work out. Now she's back in wherever, Texas or wherever she's at. And then so now she's trying to give her daughter as many chances as possible. And some creeps say that they like, pictures of her. And so she's like, well, that's going to help her get a blah, 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 then, a show
and
or
justifies
whatever.
it that way.
Yeah, but
I forgot all about that until you just mentioned that. That's why that storyline doesn't work very well.
That's because it's like one line in the movie.
Yeah.
And so that's...
So how do you really
80
feel
million
about this
characters.
movie, Josh?
No.
Yeah, he needed to minimize. That's my final say.
Yeah. Okay.
I still think it's interesting, though.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I think that's it for today. So, all right, we don't even know what we're going to talk about next week, do we?
Yeah, we always say that, and then we figure it out. It's fun. No, actually, that's the second time we've ever said that. Yeah, because Oscars are over with.
Yeah.
There's movies coming out, but there's always this kind of not let down feeling, but it's like the day after Christmas. It's all done and wrapped up for this year, but there's tons of things on.
I mean, there's a lot of trailers, and there's
Yeah.
also a lot of trailers for movies that are coming out now that I'm starting to get excited. I mean, Avengers is coming out in like 2 months. I think,
that's going to be huge. Well, what we should do is, since we haven't done it in a while because we're on the Oscar hunt and doing all the best actors, we should go back and do an old Boring in Blue.
Oh yeah, we should do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well, there you go.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out.
Something
Okay.
old, something new, something
Boring.
boring, something blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been that long, I couldn't even remember it.
All right. Well, if you want to check us out on the web, it's actorandengineer.com. And on Facebook, we're at facebook.com/actorandengineer. And on Twitter, we're at actorengineer. And did you know that we just got followed by Whiplash soundtrack
No.
today?
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So
3-time Academy Award winner.
there you go. All right. So we'll see you next week.
Until then.
Bye.